I want to go to the north side for just a few moments because it is going to be a little bit more of a whirlwind. It's going to be more of a carousel because it's going to be who's staying, who's going. How close are you in the wild card race? Is the NL Central really good? How good are the Cardinals going to be, who really didn't make a lot of moves since Nolan Arenado? What's going on with Milwaukee? We've seen that Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, more Pittsburgh, have already thrown in the towel. My big question for the Chicago Cubs this season isn't if they're going to win the NL Central, isn't if they're going to be a wild card team, isn't about the Ricketts trying to buy Chelsea FC. It's what's going to happen with Wilson Contreras, because that is going to be the signifier for this team moving forward. I think a move like Marcus Stroman is a nice bridge and or a potential 3-4 on a good team, maybe even a 2. But right now, he's kind of your ace. So that kind of gives you an idea where they're at. Seiya Suzuki, right? Somebody who touted, but still an unknown. Okay. And the fact that you have no idea what's up with this starting rotation, it's all about what they're doing in the farm system. So when I'm looking at the Cubs this season right now, it's not about what's on the field, which is a shame because the Cubs should never be in that position. But the messaging that we're getting from this team, are you in or are you out? Are you really going to be playing the waiting game? Paul, when you're scouting this team, when you're watching this team, when you're breaking down this team, I think a lot of it has to do with where they're at positionally in the standings. I don't think we can make a guess on this Cubs team. I don't think they're going to be all that good. But if for some miracle they're hanging around come June and July, then they're going to be active. But if that's the case, how can we judge this team? Because I don't know what they want to do for the future.
Well, I think we said it a few weeks ago how the move of Stroman and Suzuki seem very methodical moves. You know, they're not the glamorous top-end free agent, but they're nice, safe, long-term bets. Now, me personally, I wouldn't have Stroman as my ace going forward and building a team around him. But at the same time, I think he was a good young free agent pitcher, and that's a guy that you can kind of build around, whether he's your best guy or not. Seiya Suzuki, one of the best hitters coming out of Nippon Professional Baseball in Japan. I think that's another safe move. I think we've seen the transfer of talent from Japan over to the United States, and it carries over well when a person dominates over there. Let's keep in mind that the American League MVP, a former Nippon Professional Baseball player. So, you know, I don't sleep on the Cubs, but at the same time, you'd be fooling yourself if you thought that they were going to win the division, considering how good the Cardinals and the Brewers are compared to the Cubs. A better pitching staff, starting pitcher wise, even at the back end of their bullpen, it's impressive with Josh Hader. With the Cardinals, they didn't really need to make a lot of moves because they do have a very young, exciting, dynamic team. Now, of course, probably one of the bigger moves that they made this offseason was bringing in Albert Pujols for the last go-around with Yadier Molina and possibly Adam Wainwright, who had an impressive 2021. It's a winnable division for the Cubs. I don't think they'll do it. They may be a fringe playoff team, but at the same time, they're going to have to deal with the likes of whoever comes up second and third place in the National League West, which is a pretty impressive division, and then the National League East with the second and third place teams from that division. So it's going to be a little bit of a battle. I don't think they're going to sacrifice their farm system, which is a good farm system right now, in order to win this season. You know, because you have Brennan Davis is going to be making the jump pretty soon here. We're going to see long-term what happens to Jason Hayward, if they're going to end up eating the rest of that contract just to get him off the team. We're going to see if the Schwindy City is thriving this year with Frank Schwindel. We're going to see if Patrick Wisdom can assume the DH role, now that the DH is in the National League. And then everyone's probably going to get confused between Wade Miley and Drew Smyly in the rotation this year. But it's a couple of decent veteran pitchers. And that's what I like about the Cubs is they didn't just go out and get, they're not thriving on a rebuild. They're not going with just a bunch of young guys and a bunch of glorified AAA players. There's some decent veterans on this team. Now, are they going to be trade pieces come July, or are they going to be guys that are going to be leading the charge to try and make a decent playoff run? But I like what the Cubs are doing because it's a little bit slow and steady without totally blowing the thing up. You're not going to see 100 losses this summer, and especially in a division that has the Pittsburgh Pirates, which are just atrocious. and the Cincinnati Reds, who unfortunately had to blow it up and get rid of guys like Nick Castellanos and Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez. So third place is a nice spot to put the Cubs in and slot them in. I think this is a pretty obvious division compared to the other 5 divisions where you know where the teams are going to be placed. And I think that's Cardinals, Brewers, Cubs, Reds, Pirates in that order. But at the same time, I wouldn't discount the Cubs. Wrigley Field is an intimidating place to play if you're an opponent. And there's a lot of strong guys that could get hot at the right time. Ian Happ could always break out. We'll see where Clint Frazier slots into this team.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Hermosillo had some impressive moments last year along with Rafael Ortega. It's an exciting squad, and I can't wait to see what they do. And I can't wait to see who ends up rising to the top in that bullpen. There's a lot of no-namers in that bullpen. So I can't wait to see, if Manuel Rodriguez or Michael Givens are going to make impressive moves this year for the Cubs.
And this is why I always send people to the Baseball Weekend Journal, because obviously if you're listening to us here in the Sports Cubicle with Devin Tingle, Dan Marver, Paul Shore, and myself, Mike Mercado, Devin and Paul being diehard White Sox fans, they always bring the knowledge and the perspective and objective. But then you hear Paul also break down Northside baseball. And that's what he brings for so many baseball teams in Major League Baseball. And I want to finish off this Cubs conversation back with Paul in just a second. But Devin, I'll keep it really simple for you because we're going to have a whole summer to talk about Cubs baseball. Wilson Contreras, does he finish the season as a Chicago Cub?
Haven't the Cubs been trying to get rid of him for years? He's kind of been like that guy where it's like the AJ Przinsky, the Dennis Rodman, you hate him unless he's on your team. And that's the thing, though. But I've learned with Cub, I don't know, Mercado, I've learned Cub fans really do not care for Contreras. Is that true with you, or is that just the few I've talked to?
I think it's an online thing. I think because he's a showy player, it was the same thing with Javi. But this is also the same fan base that kind of turned on Chris Bryant. So I don't know which Cub fan you're dealing with. But if you had to put money on it, knowing what you know about both the front office, the way they're moving forward, and even the way some Cubs Twitter, social media talks about, does he end up in a contender or with the other team come July?
I would say so, because my thing is, I think with the Cubs this year, they could be a team that would fall into the playoffs. It's how the team's you have no business being here. It's yeah, we know. We're just here to sell some extra T-shirts and play a few extra games, make some extra money here. So I could see the the Cubs getting rid of a guy like Contreras and then falling into place we're still a contender here, but. The thing is, Paul said it best, it isn't a rebuild for the Cubs, but it doesn't seem like this is really a contender. They're trying to be contenders either here. I definitely think this is kind of like the 06, the 07 Cubs. They're okay, we got the pieces. What can all work together here? And if Contreras doesn't fit the mold they're going for, they're going to try and get someone or some guys, I should say, that can help them fit that mold here. So, and definitely, as Paul said it best, the relief pitching is thing. But what have I said about the Cubs guys? Their pitching has been atrocious. The team can score 17 runs in one game and lose 20-17. That sounds like MLB The Show stuff right there. Come on, that doesn't happen in real life.
So I'm going to end this conversation because we said baseball is back, baby, and we get to talk about it all summer. We have one team that's in through a transition and one team that's looking to win a World Series. So, Paulie, I'll end this final question with you. The signings. We're talking about Nick Madrigal. We're looking at Nico Horner. We're looking at Andrelton Simmons, Ian Happ, Clint Frazier, Wilson Contreras, Frank Schwindel, Jonathan Villar, Jason Hayward. You brought up some of the other guys, Yan Gomez. This is a team that I think you put it right. So expectations. Does this team feel closer to 2013 or the end of 2014?
2013. I think next year will probably be the team that feels closer to 2014. And I think you're saying 2013 was that transitional year. I mean, I'm sure if we pulled up the roster, there'd be a lot of,
Barney. Yeah.
Who?
Yeah. Darwin Barney.
Who's Nate Shearholtz? Who's Brian LaHare? Who are these guys?
Brian LaHare was better than Paul Konerko?
Wait, who said that?
Remember when Brian LaHare first came up in, I think, 2012, he made the All-Star team, I believe.
Yeah, but that's because every team has to have a representative.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
He started off the season so damn
We are not doing this here on the Sports Cubicle. I will not let you guys spare the name of Brian LaHare. We want to thank
what
you guys
number
so much
did you wear for
let me sum up my point really quickly here. I think you're going to see a core start developing here, and I think Seiya Suzuki and Marcus Stroman are part of that core. I think as far as Wilson Contreras, it kind of depends on if the team is struggling. That's going to be a prime piece to trade this July. And if the Cubs can get a really good player or two prospect wise for him, then I think they make the move, because I think they have a catcher in the wings, Miguel Amaya or Miguel Amaro, if I'm saying the name correctly.
He will be out though, right?
It depends on his
injury.
I'm sorry?
I believe he's out with an arm injury this season though.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think, and he wouldn't even be slated for coming up until next year at the earliest. But I think if things seem promising with him, they would build around that. And of course, you could always find a veteran catcher as a placeholder like Yan Gomes or someone of the like. But I think if the team struggles this year and they're just disastrously bad in late July, I think they'll move Contreras. Because otherwise they would have to sign him to a long-term extension. And then, is that a guy that you want to build with going forward? Is he the right age to go forward with that? Now that there's a DH in the National League, you could, but at the same time, you still need a catcher. So I don't know if you want to clog your roster with a guy that can only really play one or two positions on the diamond. So I think it's based on how the Cubs are for the first 3 months of the season. And I think it also depends on the development of the young man, if he's even going to miss the season or not. And I know they have a couple of catchers in the pipeline that might be able to have some long-term success. But I think, this is the 2013 Cubs all over again. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think you do have some decent veterans where maybe they can patchwork their way through it. Keep in mind, we got Brennan Davis and Pete Crow Armstrong waiting in the wings, a couple of outfielders that might make things interesting on the north side this season.
It's going to be really fun. And let's put the feet to the fire before we head up out of here. Do they win the NL Central? How many win?
No.
Yes. Okay. So we all agree universally they do not win the NL Central.
Maybe not a chance.
Yes. I will say, you guys scream it out. Over under 77 wins.
Under.
Maybe 77 wins. So even.
They win 79 games. We want to know your thoughts. What happens in the north side of Chicago? Seiya Suzuki will be fun to see because he's going to be eligible for Rookie of the Year. So we'll see, and we can see if he adds any hardware to his man. So who will the Cubs be adding, subtracting? Will they be in the NL Central Division race? Will they be in the wild card race? This is going to be a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun to talk about baseball. That's going to be on the field. And transactions that are going to affect baseball games. And we're going to be here, your companion, along with your favorite team to join you the entire summer season, whether it's the Chicago White Sox or the Chicago Cubs. We want to know your thoughts. What happens in the north side? We're on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV. It's Devin Tingle. It's Paul Chivari. It's the marvelous one, Dan Marver. I'm Mike Mercado.